Hey tubers, welcome back for another adventure. So this is my Hammerhead go-kart. It's officially a Hammerhead, and it came with the book. I bought this from a guy I know at the car show in Rhinebeck in May. And after we closed the deal and all that, I said, "Oh, by the way, do you have the book?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, it's in the glove compartment. Thanks for reminding me." So whenever anybody goes out and buys one of those things, if you ask the silly question, "Do you have the book or do you have a manual?" Sometimes the answer is yes, and it's just a matter of them handing it to you, literally handing it to you. So anyway, I got the cart and I got the book, and it was $265. It has a typical GY6 engine on it. It starts, it runs, the brakes are good, everything's good. It came with the keys, though currently I have misplaced them, which is extremely aggravating. But if worse comes to worse, I'll just replace the ignition. It's a $15, $20 setback. The reason why I got it reasonable was because this is the output shaft. Well, the output shaft doesn't belong up here. It belongs here. It belongs in that hole right there. And the way this works is if you take that bolt off, the output shaft slides out of this assembly. And once you slide it out of that assembly, what you see here is the remnants of a ball bearing, of a bearing assembly. That's this right here. Now the way this works is this sits, I'm going to point it this way, this comes in from this side and rests against the outside of that housing, right? And you could see the race from the one that passed on. So as this shaft pushes in, as you could see this wider area, there's actually an oil seal that goes on this, and this pushes up against that, and then you could see the retainer and all this other stuff in the bolt, so it pulls in tight. The only comment I have about this, though, with this thing as long as it is, you really have a lot of weight on the this bearing here. There's another bearing here too, but it's not doing much. That's all the way inboard. It's really this outboard bearing that's doing quite a bit. I mean, you have kind of this holder, which perhaps helps a little bit, but once again, you got quite a bit of outboard on this, especially with the chain drive. You could just picture it torquing and all kinds of trouble. So it's not a surprise this bearing went bad. Given that this oil seal would be here, and that when this bearing failed, right, it just slid off this bearing. There's a big gear here that's driven. I think it just slid off of that. The oil seal is here. So I think all the ball bearings and so forth fell overboard from that hole. I think once I open this up, get the cover off, open it up and all, there's a plate that comes off that has this bearing and a couple of others on it, right? I really think I'm just going to be able to tap that bearing out, tap the oil seal out, right? Replace the bearing, replace the oil seal, slip the shaft in, put the gear on it, put the cover on it, put it all back together, and I'm going to be good to ride. That's my theory. Now, from a practical point of view, I'm just looking at this and I'm deciding whether I should take the engine out and work on it on a bench or not. And I just think with all this stuff, and even if I get the exhaust system off, I'm just looking at this and I'm seeing all that stuff in the way, and I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of twisty, bendy, snappy, oh my back hurts if I don't get that engine out. I don't know. What do you guys think? The good thing about getting the book with this is it came with part numbers. And when you get part numbers, you could do little things like look them up. Like the bearings were $5 each, and the oil seals were $5 each. I ordered 2 because, to be honest with you, I don't know what it is, but I don't have a lot of luck changing bearings and oil seals. It seems like I have a tendency to get tied up with them. I even if I use, like on an oil seal, you know, you get a socket to just about the right size of this, right, and you tap it in, right, so you're handling it around the edge. Even bearings too, right, you try to get a socket so that you're tapping on the outer race. You're not tapping on the inner race or up against the bearing seal. You're really tapping just on the outer race. Or you make sure you carefully with a screwdriver push only on the outer race. You don't tap on the bearings. Even doing that kind of stuff, for some reason I'm not. I've had trouble before replacing bearings and seals, so I have a tendency to buy an extra one, right? I'd rather have a spare in the box than a delay waiting for another one to show up. Anyway, other than supposedly $10 worth of seal, and actually the oil seal's probably okay. Other than $10 worth of oil seal and rare bearing, I think this thing should be fit as a fiddle. It should be a lot of fun to ride around on. It's a single seater, which, you know, solo ride, but should be fun. The bad thing, whoever had it before me treated it well. They stored it in a garage. Unfortunately, I've had it outside, and you could see I'm getting, you know, some rust on the springs. This tire was flat and jumped off the wheel, so I had to pull that off and re-inflate it, or clean the bead. You know, give it the old, you know, rubber cement technique in hopes that it seals. Put it back on. So that's the kind of trouble you run into when you leave them outside. This thing is gonna be in here for a while until I could. Boy, it's really picked up. Really picked up a lot of rust since I've had it. When I got this, it was really in a much prettier condition. Part of the reason why he got rid of it is once he spit that shaft out and knew that he wasn't going to have time to replace it, he wanted it gone before it deteriorated, and perhaps he's smarter than I am. Though this is not a Honda, for those Honda lovers, it is black and red. It's got the right colors. So this is the next project, and you'll see it come together in all its glory. I think what I'm going to do is, this video got too long to be a part of an introduction video. I think I'm going to go with it as a standalone, and then I'll break into the separate repair videos. I think that'll work better. If anyone, and you know what, let me ask you guys, because many of you are much better than I am, or do more of it than I do, so you know the troubles. You could see the bearing race right there. think you guys could see it. You can see the bearing race right there. What I was going to do is get specifically a nail punch, because of I think I could kind of get it at an angle and get a good tap on getting this out of there. If anybody has any tricks for getting bearings out of a casting, an aluminum casting, or seals out of aluminum casting in a smart way, I don't know. Do you spray them with something first? Do you? I mean, it's plenty hot enough out. I'm not sure what trick could be used to get him out of there. So if anybody has a technique for getting this bearing out, I need to push it inward, and I need to push that seal inward. I'd appreciate it. And I'm also going to ask for any tricks on putting them back in. I mean, I've tried putting them back in, spraying them with WD-40 PB Blaster. I've tried Scotch Brighting the surface they're going to go into, the casting they're going to go into, so that there's no burrs, nice and clean. It should tap right in, and you know, it ends up fighting me. So I just always seem to be fighting this kind of stuff. So once again, if anybody has any tricks, I'd appreciate them before I get in too far with this. And in the meantime, I'd like you all to keep your feet down, keep your heads up, and I'd like you all to enjoy your days. Don't let too many good days get by you. Make sure you go out and have fun. Bye now.